Hello friends and family, it's Dak and Stormy here in New England today. Everything in the van feels wet, moist. Even my plastic bin that I keep my camera equipment in, I reached inside this morning and it felt swampy, if you will. Not in a good way, not in an Adrian Barbeau Swamp Thing way. Just in, I fell in the lake and now I'm stuck in the muck kind of way. It is that humid here. Which actually we're going to talk about in a second. This is an impromptu, very fast for me, rapid fire van travel adventure Q&A based on direct feedback and questions from friends, family, and most importantly, strangers. People who have seen my New Mexico plate ask questions, some of the things that I've seen from driving 3,000 miles across the country before I decide to drive 3,000 miles back. And these are all over the place. Before I begin, two things. This is a centrist channel. I am not trying to get you to believe what I believe or have the same observations that I do. That's not the point of this channel. It is completely and utterly okay to disagree with me or to say, look, I had a different experience. That is totally fine. I want to get that up front. Centrist, not drawing lines in the sand, not telling you my opinion is right, not trying to put you in one camp and me in another. We're all humans. We're all on the same rock. Let's act like it. Number two, and this is completely out of right field. This whole NFT thing with photography is kind of rubbing me the wrong way. I saw another photographer this morning suddenly emerge out of nowhere, out of the doldrums of the last 18 months, someone who basically sat around and didn't seem to do a whole lot and is now trying to sell NFTs for 6 figures a piece. The NFT things, from an outsider perspective, from someone who does not have an interest in, at least right now, I don't have an interest in doing this, it really reeks of a get-rich-quick scheme. And my question to you photographers out there who are rushing at this and suddenly trying to sell your work for absolutely insane amounts of money through this NFT thing, whatever it is, what would have happened if you took the same fervor and energy that you're putting towards the NFT and just took that and put it towards your practice in general? I think I see these beehives of activities from photographers that are trying to get rich. One guy is selling for $100,000 a piece. I don't think this person's ever sold an image for more than 300 bucks, but they're jumping on this. And I just want to put it out there as a warning. From an outsider perspective, it feels like a pyramid get-rich-quick scheme. I know it's not. I know it's different, but it feels that way. And do you really want to be associated and your photography associated with that? And I saw this morning that Tom Brady is now selling NFTs. And I was like, okay, now I have even less interest in it, even though I'm in Brady land here on the East Coast. Let's get to these questions. Question number one, and these are, again, I apologize, kind of. They're all, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that mood lighting. I do have a gel thing in the background. Damn it, selling out. What do you do when it's 90% humidity? The short answer is you sweat, because there is no possible way to cool this van in 90% humidity. And yes, by the way, for you folks out there, it is jacket weather in Maine yesterday and today. We went from super high humidity, super hot in the low 80s, which here is very hot, to one night in the van that was pretty miserable, to basically getting up yesterday and having full-on jacket weather, and today continues the same. So I'm not wearing this because I look so damn good in it. I'm wearing it because it's actually cold. But when it's 90% humidity, we have swamp coolers, we have fans, and yes, those help a little bit to some degree, but when the humidity is that high, you are going to be hot in the van. To be someone who works and operates from a van, it is not what it looks like on YouTube for most of these van life people who are selling the ideology of a certain thing to make themselves look a certain way. Van life to me is somewhere between Nomadland, the movie, and those folks on YouTube who are selling this romanticized, my entire life is a stop and a half hot, everything is backlit and white, and I'm in the Grand Tetons all the time. No, you're gonna end up at a KOA somewhere in like rural Iowa with an overflowing toilet. It's gonna happen, and that's more realistic to van life than the Teton crowd, in my experience. But you're gonna be hot, and if you don't like that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting an RV or going to an Airbnb. Number two, what's the longest stretch you've gone without a shower? 6 days and counting. This might be my second 6-day run on this trip. Again, you have to be a bit of a dirtbag. And for anyone who's been around the climbing world, dirtbag has been an affectionate term that people have used for decades. It's now creeping into the vernacular of everyday people. there is a little bit of a dirtbaggy thing about being in the van, and my wife and I joke about it all the time. My wife is just as much dirtbag as I am, maybe even more. My wife is tough, and it helps when you're in the van, because if you're thinking this is the Four Seasons, you're going to be probably wildly disappointed. So 6 days is the longest run on this trip. However, I was in both a pool and the ocean several times in that. And to me, that's a pretty good substitute. I don't know about you, but I love getting out of the water and that feeling of salt water on my body. Absolutely love it. And so it kind of, in my world, counts as a shower. See, you're learning all kinds of things about me. Probably things you don't want to know. Okay, vaccine versus no vaccine. So I am double vaxxed, and I have a compromised immune system. So when I heard about the vaccine, I definitely wanted to get it. I thought that the vaccine would absolutely flatten me because of my compromised immune system. So I was prepared. Got the first shot, no reaction. Got the second shot, prepared for the worst. Had friends that got really hammered after the second. I got it, and for whatever reason, not only did I not feel bad, not only did I not even have any arm pain, I have felt better after the second vax than I have even before I got sick with Lyme in 2014. I feel better than I have in my entire adult life. I've run into 6 or 8 other people who have friends or family who are in the same boat that have come out of this after the second vax feeling good. I can't explain it. But I would not have been able to do any of the things I've done on this trip without a vax. I can't get into any of the houses. I couldn't have gotten into any of the facilities. I couldn't have done the talks. Tomorrow I'm going to see a friend of the family. The first question they asked was, are you double vaxxed? Yes, I still wear a mask inside. And here's my point with this vaccine stuff. The anti-vax crowd has been getting a lot of hammering in the press, and rightly so. There's a lot of misinformation about getting vaxxed, and excuses even from close friends and family that I've heard are just absolutely crazy. But these are from people who are very limited news sources, very limited information sources, and they're basically listening to propaganda. So, but here's the point I want to make. The people who have gotten vaxxed, in my experience driving 3,000 miles across the country, they are acting like they're on spring break. We cannot do that. We are a long way from this pandemic being over, and we've just guaranteed ourselves about another 18 months of intensity around the pandemic because we can't get on the same page. If you are vaccinated, you should not be acting like you're on spring break. You've got to wear masks when you go inside. You've got to avoid crowds. You've got to be smart and put the collective in front of the individual. I'm sorry, I'm not an entitled person that I feel the world owes me something, or my life was on hold for 18 months and now, boy, I need to go out and really relive. No, if I need, and we're staying in the van, mostly isolated the entire time. I still don't eat dinner inside for the most part. I think I've done it once on this, and it was a place that had a full ventilation system and windows open and distance and everything they could do. And even that made me feel a little bit guilty, a little nervous. But we are eating outside, we're staying outside, we're avoiding crowds, and we're wearing masks anytime we're inside. It is the only adult and responsible thing to do. So quit acting like you're on spring break if you got vaxxed, because it makes the anti-vax crowd really ticked off, and vice versa, and we have to be better. Yeah, okay, we're rolling now. Someone asked me about the Biden versus Trump signs across the country. No brainer, slam dunk, not even close. I would say conservative estimate, 9-1 Trump. There are Trump signs everywhere. And when I say signs, I don't mean just a little cheesy paper thing in the front yard. I'm talking about mountains that have been mowed with giant stone rock formations and shrines built to Trump. To me, he is a lock for 2024. The Republicans are dominating, and they are the only ones acting like they're in a fight. All the rules are gone. The stand up straight, do the right thing, the decency, the moral thing, out the window. They are going to dominate, because if that is any barometer of what I saw crossing the country, I saw basically what I can remember was one Biden sign, and it was the cheesy paper one in the front yard that people like run out in the middle of the night and they stick it in. You don't even know it's in there. And then you get up and you go, what? I'm not voting for that guy, or whatever, vice versa. Trump dominating. Okay. Number 5, the longer you're out on the trip, the less stuff you need. I could cut everything I have in this van in half. I could cut my camera equipment. I have my Sony system, my Fuji system. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff. I've got my drone. I haven't flown the drone once. I'm going to try to get away from flying the drone. I'm sort of overloaded by drone content, and I don't feel like what I'm doing with it is adding to the conversation. So I'm going to sort of phase out the drone stuff. I could have taken the Sony or the Fuji. I don't need both. I don't need half of the clothes I have. I'm never going to touch. I'm wearing the same thing over and over again and doing laundry. The canoe has been great, which we'll get to in a minute. But the longer you go, the less you need. And that's kind of a counterintuitive thing, but it's true because you just get into a groove with doing things in a certain way and using certain things, items in the van, and you realize I don't need any of the rest of this stuff. And it's actually liberating. It's actually a good thing. So if in doubt, don't take it. Okay, the bike and the canoe, how are they working out? They are working out well. It's the same bike I've had for 7 years or 8 years. I've gotten out about once a week on the bike, but the good news is I'm riding in a place that's at sea level, it's flat, there's no wind, it's the easiest cycling I've done in my entire adult life. This region is a blast. I can rip 40 miles here and just feel like I haven't even been on a bike ride. There's no intense cardio fatigue and stress like I have riding in New Mexico. And the canoe is fantastic. The My Canoe 14-footer takes 5 minutes to assemble, 5 minutes to disassemble. It's stable. I got a kayak paddle. I can paddle by myself. It's been wonderful, and I cannot wait to keep exploring with this. I've got a couple of plans over the next week for potentially getting it in the water and doing some filming with that as well. Number 7, can I work for blurb from the road? Yes, that was a big test of this trip, was can I do my blurb job from the road? And the answer is unequivocally yes. There is a little issue I'm having, which I'll get to in a minute with another point, but I needed to make sure because I can't take 6 weeks of vacation. I don't have 6 weeks of vacation, and what vacation I do have, I have to take for the Albania trip in September if that goes through. So I have not missed a call. I've not missed an appointment. I've been able to do all the writing I've done. I've got all the films. I stockpiled 17 films preloaded before I left that are done and ready to be released. And I've also been producing, as you know, films as I go. And I've got another one that I'm going to release today or later today. And so, yes, unequivocally, I can work for blurb from the road. What about bathrooms? Oh, you got a crapper in that thing? Told you, that guy's here. He's in every state in America, and I keep running into him. Here's my point. Public bathrooms in America are indescribably bad and far too infrequent. It is embarrassing and a testament of our country. The Japanese figured out the toilet scenario decades ago, right? If everyone knows about the Japanese toilet and how mystical and magical they are. We have not caught up. You could throw the bullet train in there as well. I think LBJ was the first president that said we're going to really build the bullet train, and we're still not there. The bathrooms are horrific, and I feel like PTSD, if there's anything in my life that would give me legitimate PTSD, it's some of the bathrooms I've encountered across here. And there's not too many. The little town I'm sitting in right now has one public bathroom that I know of. I read an article about this bathroom because that's what I do and that's where my interests lie. It was decided by the city in 1964 they needed a public bathroom, and they built it this year. And the only reason they built it is a local gave $10,000 to get it done because the city government couldn't pull it together and they wanted to hoard all the money. So it's bad. We have to remedy this. For anyone traveling here from overseas, it has to be insulting and horrifying to encounter this. We have to get better at this. There's no reason not to. And this is what it kind of borderline reeks of to me. Little towns like this, they want your money. They want you to come here and they want you to spend your money, but they don't want you to stay here. And they don't want to make it too easy to come here because then too many of you come here. And it's a balance. It's a balance of tourism season. We're going to endure the masses, but we don't want to make it too nice on the masses because we don't want them to come back that much because we don't want our town to change. And this is happening all over the country. And for living in a tourist city, I understand that to some degree. But at the same time, people are coming. And I've got another point talking about this in a minute. People are coming and you can't stop them. And so you just safety-wise, you've got to do a better job of putting this stuff in. And believe me, there is money to make bathrooms. We just choose not to do it. Okay, that's the, you can't see it, but there's a soapbox down below and I'm standing on it. Okay, next point, everything is crowded. I've been coming to this town every year for 25 years, and I have never in my life seen crowds like this, not even remotely close to this. It's like a horse race, and the whistle blows, and the gates open, and everyone's running out. That's what Americans are doing at the moment. because there was this false hope that we're past COVID. And it's crazy, and people are coming out like mad. So every single place is crowded. Yesterday, where I'm sitting right now, I was basically locked into this parking place because the traffic, even on a dead-end cul-de-sac side street, was backed up all the way through town. When I get my motorcycle, that's going to be great, but I typically walk or ride my bike because there is just nowhere to put the van, nowhere to park. It's crazy how crowded things are. Okay, next point. People are price gouging. Someone was asking me about like prices along the way, gas prices. Gas prices are high, but not as high as I would have thought. It's not that bad. I would say the average is around $3 a gallon for gas. What is crazy is the camping scenario. I saw a tent campsite, flat, no electricity, no bathroom, just a flat grassy area for a tent for $90 a night. And that is common. Once you get east of Ohio, you're very limited in terms of open space, BLM, national forest. It's not like it is out west where you can just boondock anywhere on national forest or BLM. Here, it's very limited, lots of private land. There are national forests, but it's so ticky over here. There's so many ticks and there's so many people with Lyme disease. I don't want to go near it. I tell people I'm not even walking through the grass to get to the lake. I will find a way I don't have to do that. If you think I'm exaggerating, I wish I was, but it's that bad. So $90 for a tent campsite, that's price gouging. And that's just, some people say, well, they're making up for a lost year. Great, but that would have been $15 2 years ago. And so that's a really hard thing to swallow. And I'm sure it's happening all over the country, but it is happening in my experience. Okay, next point. What about creating content from the road? It is a lot harder than it looks, because you have multiple logistics. You have logistics that you require as a human being, and you have logistics that require the movement of the van and the supplying and resupplying of the van, whether it's gas or food or whatever. Where are you going to sleep? Where are you going to plug in? Where are you going to work? Where are you going to record? And so logistically from the road, it is very challenging. Throw in the fact that I have what I would like to refer to as a well-rounded life, meaning I cycle, I canoe, I fish, I hike, I paddle, I explore. I met 4 people in this town, business owners, over the last 2 days. I've spoken at a workshop series. I've overnighted with photo editors, creative directors. I've traveled all over. I met with a workshop VP to talk about teaching next year. Again, had to be vaxxed to do any of this stuff, but it's a lot of work. And so all of that takes away from the ability to film. So shooting stills, recording audio, and filming stuff that I would use to make films probably gets 5% of my time on the road. And that's pretty crazy. It in part explains why so many YouTube filmmakers don't cycle and paddle and climb and hike and do all this other stuff, because there's no possible way there's time in the day to do it all. And so it's a lot harder than it looks, but I'm able to do basic films from the road. Okay, the one thing I have not solved in the van, that's a very simple answer: power. I have a 1,000-watt solar generator, but when it's cloudy, it's almost impossible to recharge that solar. It trickle charges off the battery when the car is on, but I've been sitting a lot over the last 2 weeks, and so my generator is constantly running low. I've got to figure this out. I don't have a great solution right now. I've taken the generator out I spent a couple of nights in a hotel. I recharged it to 100%. I took it to a family friend and recharged it, but it's a pain, and I have to figure this out because computer, iPad, phone, Sony cameras, Fuji cameras, drone, wife's laptop, all of this stuff, at 20,000 milliamp power banks, all of that have to be recharged. GoPro, 360 camera, I just don't have enough power. So I've got to figure that out. If you got any suggestions, let me know. Last 2 points. There are help wanted signs for 3,000 miles across the country in every business, in every size, of every flavor that you can imagine. The labor force is in complete and utter turmoil. I bought a tuna sandwich 2 days ago, and the woman who owns the store, which again I've been going to for 25 years, she said, we're going to have to shut 1 day a week. I can't get anyone to work. This is monumental. Any of you out there who think we are out of the pandemic, you are grossly misinformed, because we are not. It is raging, and it's impacting all kinds of things, labor being one. We all know about the benefits package, and a lot of people that are taking the benefits instead of going back to their jobs. That's happening. When those benefits run out, people are going to come back in mass trying to get jobs, and yes, they will be able to fill a lot of these positions, but it's very traumatic for the business owners right now. And it's something to think about. Also, too, if you're looking for a part-time job, it's a perfect time to get a part-time job because everybody is looking. I'm talking, I was in a town in Ohio, a very picturesque small town, and I walked the downtown main strip. It was 2 blocks. There were approximately 40 retail outlets. Every single one had a help wanted sign. And some of them even had like a humorous desperately need help sign in the window. So it's that bad. And the last question, and I've been asked this a few times, is about optimism or pessimism. After spending 3,000 miles going across the country, am I optimistic or pessimistic about what's happening in America? And this is a cop-out, but I'm going to claim both. The optimism is, I grew up in a time when you met people on the street and you said, hey buddy, how you doing? And they saw your license plate and said, oh, you're from New Mexico, no way. You want a beer? You want something to eat? Let's hang out. We're having a picnic. You want to be friends. You want to hang out, talk, discuss. There was never an injection of, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, as the front and center introduction, which is what is happening now. We have radicalized our country politically based on misinformation and party line. And it is driving us apart. And the division I see in America, and the division is basically reflected in angry people, is beyond anything I could have imagined. And it feels like something that if we don't get a handle on it and don't come to our senses and stop drawing lines in the sand, we're going to have a real problem. I mean, a real problem. And it's bad. The upside is that yesterday I met a police officer from Rhode Island, and I met a Vietnam vet who at 19 years old said that he went from an innocent, honest little farm kid to a killer in 1 month in Vietnam. And he organizes his platoons, his regiments, annual gathering, and has for like 40 years. And the dude was unbelievable to talk to. We never once brought up politics. The cop, I didn't know he was a cop until the end of the conversation. Classic East Coast guy with the dress and the hair and the car and the accent. And I had a blast talking to him. We hit all these different topics. He never said he was a police officer until the very end. And all of that baggage that you hear associated, police officer, and today that's a political word. And all of a sudden you bring your baggage from whatever side of the fence you're on. It doesn't matter. He's a human being. We had an amazing conversation. I feel like he's a guy that if I got stranded in Rhode Island, I could track him down and go, hey, I met you at the hotel in New England. He'd be like, come on over. That's the America I grew up in. And that seems to be getting further and further away. And the America that's coming in is this weirdly divided, angry, finger-pointing America, and that's not us. So this is, to me, more than anything else, an opportunity to put the brakes on, to reassess, to slow down, and realize that presenting a political party in the first 30 seconds of a conversation is not getting us anywhere. So let's just relax. Let's take the politics out. Let's put the humanity back in and the intelligence back in, and say, look, we're on the same rock, we're in the same country, we're Americans, let's get it together and act like it. That's my soapbox for the day. I know this was long-winded, but that was it. Thank you so much for sending in the questions. I'm still getting them, so there might be another one of these before I go. But I'm going to go into this public library here and cut this baby up. I'm going to show off to the library staff all of my premier editing skills. I'm going to go in and these, I think the average age of the worker in this library is, I think, about 85. So I will clearly look like a technical genius to these folks, although there is one person in there that I already know knows more about tech than I do. And she's got to be 85 years old, and she can run circles around me in tech. So I got to avoid her, but I got to find the rest of them. I'll be back.